This morning on my other channel, I did a video on this here article right here. DHS employee promotes race war. Okay? I'm going to leave the link to this in the more for you. Okay? But I'm going to say some more things on this. For one, the video I did up on my other channel, bill1224601 account, I was straight across the board. I don't promote violence. I never have promoted violence. I was suspended for 2 weeks from my channel under the grounds that I was promoting violence. So they took what this story is promoting and flipped it back and said I'm doing it. Okay, this is what this society is about nowadays, is turning the truth around, completely lying. So I was suspended for 2 weeks based on somebody else's lie. Anybody that heard that video knows full well that I never promoted any kind of violence. Okay, if you ask yourself, if you read this story, and I'm not even going to read it to you, I'm going to leave the link for you, okay? That's all I'm going to do is just leave the link for you. See, either way around, it was probably a false flag. Okay, the video was flagged down for being that I was the one promoting violence, which means the words was taken and flipped upside down on their heads, and a complete lie was made. I'm not going to say no names, but I got a feeling I know who's behind it, okay? But they're not getting no attention. So to that particular person, you can make all the troll accounts you want. You can false flag the living hell out of me if you want. It won't make a difference. I will not bring up your name. I will not talk about you. I will not give you your attention. Okay, attention whore? Now I'm done with that. If you look at the definition of terrorism, if you look at the war on terrorism, what your government and media is telling you that we're fighting against, which you all know is phony. It's made up. But let's go with their very own words. What we're looking for, terrorist. Okay? Isn't a terrorist somebody who might be plotting, or a group of people who might be plotting on blowing up a building? Or plotting on doing something that would be responsible for killing a lot of people? Yeah. That's a terrorist act. And so here's Department of Homeland Security with an employee who's doing exactly that. Who's plotting and trying to advocate to get black people to stand together, okay, to kill white people. Now that is terrorism. I call it as it is. I've never advocated violence, but yet I'm suspended out of my account for 2 weeks for doing what I don't do. That's right. And even in that video, I did not advocate violence. I pointed out who was the one advocating violence was the person in this news story. They're the ones advocating the violence. They're the ones talking about killing white people. That particular person works for DHS, Homeland Security, and is calling, promoting for blacks to get together and kill off white people? Okay? Don't tell me that's not promoting violence. Don't tell me that that's all legit and okay. If we turn that around, it wouldn't be okay now, would it? Not only if we turned it around and we had a white person calling to kill off the black people, the black people would be in arms over that. But the facts are the facts. Let's look at what your media and your government's telling you the war on terrorism is. Let's use their very own definition that they lay on to us. And look at that new link underneath the more in this video and tell me if it doesn't fit that definition. I don't promote violence. I try to stop the violence. I try to use examples to show people what they're doing to each other to get people to stop the division, to stop this type of behavior. And that's exactly what I talked about in that video. And so because I talked about wanting people to get along, wanting the wars to end, wanting the division to stop, and wanting to show what this person's advocating, which is exactly what your government's telling you we're fighting against, while we have a government worker doing the very thing that they say we're fighting to stop. So anyhow, here I am, 2 weeks suspended out of my account for a false flag, for a lie. That's right, for a lie. And YouTube knows it's a lie if they looked into it at all. If any YouTube worker at all had one lick of a brain in their head and would look at that actual video, they would see clearly that when it was flagged for me promoting violence, that it was a lie. If you went by the title that I gave the video, it was a well-deserved, fitting title. It really was. Okay, the title I gave to the video fits it. DHS employee advocating terror threat. We are going to have to kill lots of whites. Terrorist act by DHS employee. That is the name I gave that video. Why did I give it that name? Read the story. Look who's doing and what they're saying. Everything I said didn't come out of my mouth. It came out of the person's mouth that's advocating to do that. That's the reason I gave it that name. So if that name hurt you, oh well. The name was the truth. How do you have somebody that works for the Department of Homeland Security opening a website and promoting this type of behavior, killing off white people? Isn't that a terrorist act? Wanting to kill tons of people, isn't that a terrorist act? The last time I looked, the war on terrorism's not only phony, but if we was to say it was real and go with your politicians' definition of what they're using against us, the people, that story that's in the more fits that definition. But it's funny how sick you people really are. It's funny how one person probably used umpteen of his accounts to falsely lie and flag something that's not being true because this person has mental problems. Because they're miserable in their own life. And they want to take their misery out on other people. Because they're miserable. There's nothing you can do about people like that. You know, people have a tendency of being their own worst enemy in today's society. They don't need enemies because they are their own enemy. And people in today's society don't even know how to be friends, let alone keep friends, because they don't know what a friendship is. They haven't the first clue. But for me to be suspended out of that account for 2 weeks on a lie, because that's what that was. That was a lie. And for YouTube to suspend me without listening to the video itself, I don't know who the worker is, but maybe that worker should practice paying attention and stop flipping the truth. Because that's what you've done. You flipped my words. I didn't say that. So your suspension about me advocating violence was a complete lie. That's right, a complete lie. You took my words and flipped them. You said it, I didn't. Because if you listen to my words in the video you took down, I never once said that. I never once promoted violence on anybody. I did the exact opposite, which is what I've always done. The exact opposite. Maybe that's what pissed you off, because you don't want the exact opposite. Because you're sick. Regardless of what it is, it's complete hogwash. It shouldn't have happened. Okay? I shouldn't have another strike on my account and be out for 2 weeks for something I did not do. The video was plain and clear to anybody that listened to it that I did not advocate that. I simply showed you a story that is advocating exactly that. And I pointed that out. And now I'm the one advocating it for pointing it out, huh? You know, that's just the thing about today's society. The majority of people are so sick. They're so mentally disturbed. They're so out of their minds. They ain't got one lick of common sense in their head. They're completely out of their freaking minds. They're doing things onto other people they wouldn't want done onto themselves, and they're laughing. And then when what they're doing to other people comes back and happens to them, they're bitching, they're mad, they're pissed off, they're throwing themselves around the place. But while they're going out there and doing it themselves. Because they haven't grown up. They haven't figured it out, have they? It's sad. It really is. It's sad. So I want you to look at the story underneath it. I showed you the beginning of the video, the actual story. And then I took the story out of this video. Why? Because people like to take and turn the truth around, don't they? That's right. They took what I said and they turned my words. And if you take what I say now and you turn my words again, it ain't going to matter. Because I'm going to say it straight up. And I've always said it. And everybody that knows who I am, that has followed my videos, already knows that I do not advocate violence. So you can say, you trolls, you parasites, you scum of the earth, you can say that I am, and thousands of people will look at you straight in your face and tell you you're full of shit. Because you are. And you know you are. You're getting your rocks off online. I'm doing unto other people that you don't want done unto yourself. And YouTube, Google. You're no better. You're getting your rocks off on evil behavior. You ran with that. And you suspended that account for 2 weeks based on a lie. You didn't look at that video or listen to what I said. Don't even tell me you did. I don't care what your workers at YouTube tell you. If they tell you they watched it and I was promoting violence, they're a straight up liar. End of story. They're a straight up dishonest, lying person. So whoever the YouTube worker is that took the flag, you didn't do your job. You failed to do what you're being paid to do. You're a failure. Because if you was doing what you was paid to do, you would have listened to my video. You would have heard what I was talking about. And you would have realized that I'm not the one advocating it. I pointed out somebody else that is advocating violence. And you can't tell me, the DHS worker, who's had a website that's promoting and wanting to put blasts together and blaming one race for the problems on this world and wanting to kill thousands of white people just because their skin is white. And they're the one doing that. You can't tell me that's not a terrorist act, or at least attempt of terrorism, because it is. If I go with Google, your bosses, your government you work for, you people up there at the top, if I go with your very own definition, your definition of terrorism, and I look at that story and read it, it fits your definition. That's what that person is doing, not me. That's the reason I pointed it out. And if you listen to what I said, you would very, very clearly hear. And anybody that's ever followed me knows that I do not advocate or promote violence. I do the exact opposite. I want it stopped. I want people to get along. I want the division stopped. That's what I do. The exact opposite. And so I do the exact opposite, and you take my words and you flip them. And now you're laughing under your breath. So you're laughing because you're mentally sick, huh? Makes you feel big to be a walking mental case, right? Because obviously you feel big to be mentally disturbed. Because there is no other explanation for it. Flagging that video for what it was flagged down for was to tell me that I am the one that wrote that story. I am the one that did that. No, I'm not. The story's underneath this video and the more. Read it. Tell me. Isn't that what your government tells you is the definition of terrorism? What this guy's doing? And who's he working for while he's doing it? Think about that. Read that story and think about that. That's why I pointed it out. But we live in a society where people want to take other people's words and flip them and laugh because they're mentally disturbed. And so a mentally disturbed person flags my video by flipping my words. A YouTube employee fails to do their job and suspends me for 2 weeks on a false flag. So the YouTube employee who failed to do their job, shame on you. Because if you'd have done your job when they falsely flagged my video, you would have listened to it and you would have realized that they lied to you. That it was not as they said. I was not the one promoting violence. I was speaking against it. Against the violence. But you obviously didn't do your job, did you, YouTube? So to the employee that's responsible for my 2-week suspension on my other channel, congratulations for not doing your job. And you can't tell me you did your job, because then you're just as bad as the idiot that flipped my words. That means you're flipping my words too. And if you're going to flip my words too and say something I didn't say, then I can flip your words and say you did something you didn't do. And if it ever come back and bit you in the ass and you found yourself in trouble for something you didn't do, and you was angry and screaming because you know you didn't do it, then I would want you to look in the mirror really hard. And remember, you're looking at yourself. That's what you do to other people. And if you don't want what you do to other people happening to you, then you better not practice doing it to somebody else. It's that plain and simple.